So, welcome to the Big Mike and Little Ant spoiler discussion for the little things or whatever, starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Directed by John Lee Hancock. It's a psychological thriller in the vein of 1990s movies. And we're going to get into it and spoil it all throughout. So, if you don't realize spoiler discussion, we're going to go ahead and spoil it. So, I'm gonna try to get this more my energy again and stuff like that. So,
Right, let's go.
what I didn't like was the fact that I felt like they should have gave more to the story for each character. In that regard, I did like, however, I like the overall mystery that they had in place and whatnot because you never really knew what was happening. I like the cat and mouse game that Jared Leto's character played with Baxter and Deacon and stuff like that on like, did I do it, did I not? And I also like what was new to me, how I haven't really seen this a lot in these type of movies, how he knew a lot of the procedures of the police officers
Right,
and what they would do and not, and what they could say and not say, and that helped him like play with their mind and stuff like that.
right.
The whole part where that, and where Rami Malek's Baxter called him to go to the bar with him, and he realized it was a setup. When he called and said officer down, that would bring all the police there. That was
Yeah.
freaking genius
He
to me.
didn't even care that they was gonna kick in his own door.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So I thought that was, even though I thought for Rami Malek's, I was like, yo, if you say to meet me at the bar, why do you just meet him at the bar and let Denzel go to his house?
That's what I didn't get. I was like, that would have made more sense. You would have really kept him busy.
Right.
Like you'd
It
have been
make-
able to keep him busy.
Right, it don't make any sense with him. And then he would have, you know what I mean? Like you could have talked about anything. Said, I'm sorry, but we could have said anything. Or whatever, buy you a drink, whatever.
Right.
But you just sat there. That's dumb to me. So
Yeah.
anyway.
And let's get back to let's talk about the beginning of the movie. Like she's getting followed. The car's behind her. She the car passes her. She pulls over. The car passes her. Then she passes the car, and then she decides the car's following me again, or the truck, and I'm gonna pull over to the empty gas station where it looks like nobody's there and bang on the door. Get out my car.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid or whatever. Like I said, I think that if you're in the car, somebody's following you. Why get out the car? Why get out the car there? You're not sure the place open or not. You get out the car, you run into the door, blah blah blah. And how many times you gonna knock before you're like nobody's here? Like
Right.
it was clear it was dark, nobody was there, and the car's coming. At least get back in your car and take off again. Why
Exactly.
run around the building and now you setting yourself up? And like you said, the killer seems so confident, like he just knew she was stupid or whatever
And,
like
and
that.
that part for me was a little hard because the killer was so like he showed up a little bit later. She already got out the car and ran. He's walking all slow. He goes to his trunk, open up stuff, walks up to her car, takes her key out. Like, what is he, Michael Myers? Like, how did he even catch her? Because I was like, man, I would have been out. And then when they showed her, she was out. I
Right.
felt like, man, he caught her kind of too fast. I was kind of like, I thought like, oh man, she's, well, she did end up getting away. So because she ran in the road and that truck came. So
Right. But yeah, the way she was moving, she could have been gone. He would never
right,
caught her, stuff like that,
right.
or whatever. And even that, like, you just hop out the car and hop out, like you forget your keys. There was so many dumb things she did there in that part, or
Yeah.
whatever like that. But anyway, so um, with Deke, we were talking about, in an earlier review, how like I guess things from his past comes up within this whole investigation and stuff like that. And we come to find out that 5 years before that, in a similar investigation with what do they call it? What kind of murder was it?
Um,
Similar.
yeah,
Uh, similar type of murders or whatever. That I guess he thought he had the guy at the end, and he wound up shooting one of the victims and whatnot and killing
right,
her. I guess stuff like that.
right. So to set the scene, it was two people on the ground that was dead with naked with plastic bags over their heads. So he's in the woods and the trees moves. He's turned and shoot, and he shot a girl.
Right.
And
One of the victims actually, yeah,
right,
and killed her. And the cops said that they were going to. What the coroner said, she's going to say that the girl was dead already.
by
So
stab wounds
by stab wounds,
as she
yeah.
was taking out the bullet.
Right, correct. And I guess his partner at the time didn't like they were covering it up or whatever, never got over it.
Right.
Earlier stuff like that. So I don't know. Did the partner kind of? I'm trying to think. About it. Maybe it's a police code that the partner couldn't say nothing or whatever
Right.
because he didn't want to be looked down upon or whatever as a snitch or whatever and stuff like
Right.
that. So he probably followed, but didn't want to do it. Like he unwillingly followed the policeman code that they had within their department, I guess. Or
Right.
that's what it seemed like to me. Um, but anyway, when that happens, he loses his job, he loses his wife, he has a heart attack, his whole life flips upside down
Yeah.
because of this one case that he could not solve.
Right.
Oh God, which is
Yeah.
still gonna keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. He really, really, really was fixated on solving that case. So it's years and years later. And the thing is, he goes to the old town. So he's no longer at that town. He goes to the old town to pick up a pair of boots for a different crime scene because they got to do DNA on it. And he meets up with this new young cop. He's like the lieutenant of the force, and he's giving a press conference about the new murder. So as he's listening, he's thinking, you know what? This might be the same guy that I never caught years ago. So he gets super invested in the case, and come to find out, his boss didn't need him to come back with the boots because they was going to throw that evidence out of court. So he figured, you know what? I'm going to stay in town because I want to try to help solve this murder. And he made it clear that he was only trying to solve it for himself. He's not trying to solve it to really help out the case because he was so into it years ago. For him, he lost so much from, like Mike said, his wife and his pretty much his job. He had a heart attack. So for him, he needs to close this case to feel like he got closure.
Yeah. So with that being said, when he goes, when the younger cop goes to see him about the current case, you still see pictures of the victims from the previous case on the wall in
Right.
Denzel's little hotel he's staying at. So he can't get over that case, and stuff. And he's like, "Yo, it's kind of like his white whale, like Moby Dick or whatever like
Mm-hmm.
that." And he felt like
Yep.
this is my white whale, like and this particular new case has all the same MOs as the old case. I know this is the guy, stuff like that.
Right.
So and it turns out he's a really good detective at the end of the day. He's just too obsessed with that one case
Right.
and couldn't move forward and stuff like that. So Denzel's character was he was layered, I thought, but I'm with you. Like seeing the older Denzel did kind of throw me off a little bit.
Yeah, it was like, dag, man. Like I was saying earlier, you guys check out the spoiler free review. That, man, I just felt like Denzel was the guy that never was gonna get old. You know, it's like watching the old Denzel. It's like, oh, that's crazy. But he played it to his part. Let's just get into the killer, man. Or was it the killer? Can we just get
That's
into
my
it?
question for you. Do you think he was a killer or not?
So we left the movie theater, my wife and I, and she was like, this was kind of dumb because you never knew. I said, well, it's been a long time since I watched a movie that when it ends, you don't really know. It's up to your interpretation. So I am going to lead on the side that he wasn't the killer
Why?
because of the barrettes. And I was like, oh, wow. So he was the killer because he said, hey, did you see a barrette in that box? He said, I'm going to check. Give me 5 minutes, right? After he already was in there looking, right? So at the end, when Denzel had the guy drop off this envelope to the dude's house, and his wife
Gotcha.
said, here, Denzel's character, I forgot his name, left this for you.
Deacon. Yeah.
Deacon, there you go. Deacon left this for you. He opens it up and the paper says no angels. So he's telling them, don't try to be an angel. He opens it up and it's a barrette. And you're like, so the audience is like, oh, wow. Okay, that guy was the killer, And we got to back up a little bit. Reason why it was deep because Baxter ended up killing the guy. The guy
Yes.
had him drive out to a deserted area, telling him, dig right here, dig right here. Every time he got deep, he's like, oh, you know what? I think the hole is right there because he wanted to admit that he killed this lady who was missing, right?
Mhm.
But they never found her body. So he's thinking, okay, he got to be the killer. So in the end, he dug up about, I don't know, 10 holes and was like, and he's talking to him, annoying him. And Baxter just swings the shovel, hit him in the head, and he dies. So fast forward back to where I was talking about, when he's sitting there, he's at home watching his two daughters swimming, and he just like pretty much can't believe he killed somebody. And he's handed the envelope. The envelope paper says no angels and a beret. And he's like, it comforts him to think like, you know what? He was the killer. But then you see Denzel's character, Deacon, goes home and he's burning some of the guy's stuff that was in his house because he took a bunch of stuff out the house to make it look like the dude just moved from a different city. So people could think that was him. As he's burning everything, he pulls out a package with berets and one is missing and he throws it to burn it. So he gave him the beret just to make him feel good that that was the guy. So that to me feels like he wasn't the guy. I'm going to leave with that. What about you?
I'm willing toward he was the guy, but I thought that he was smart enough to play them. They would never really be sure, stuff like that. Especially because remember he had called, I think 8 years
8
before,
years prior, yeah.
and confessed to a murder he didn't do or whatever like that. With the police department.
Well, that
But
even makes me more think he wasn't the guy. That he was just into, like he said. So I'm taking him now that everything he said was true. I'm just really into murders. I'm into all that stuff. I like to look into these cases and stuff. He had a police scanner, but I feel like he was just a groupie of these murders. I feel like he was just what's the word I'm looking for? He was like just die
bad boy.
hard, a fanatic. He was a fanatic.
Yeah.
But I feel
Yeah.
like, but maybe he was like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never killed the person a day in my life. And at the
Right.
time of that part in the movie, I'm like, he's lying. But now I'm thinking like, yo, he probably wasn't lying.
So only thing that got me was that if you go back to, we talked about it earlier. Remember when they went to the appliance repair shop or
Right.
whatever, and the same type of, and they show it the same type of on the one victim when the victim when they were in the house, the
Yeah,
first
the
one with
alcohol.
with the beer can, stuff like that. Not just the alcohol, but I think it was like the rope or something like that that was used on the wrist was the same rope they had, like a whole bunch of it inside the appliance repair
Right.
shop or whatever like that. And I'm sure that's not like standard rope that everybody got, right?
Yeah,
Whatever
but
like that.
so I think that's the little things that they throw in the movie
Right.
to play on your mind. Because the cool thing about this is we don't know. And until the director come out and say, hey, excuse me, guys, it was him or it wasn't him. But I think that's what I liked about the movie. It's been a long time since I was able to watch a movie end, and I'm still talking about the movie, but not about what I seen, but about what wasn't in the movie because we don't really know. So even when they came to the shop, and for me, I felt like that was bad for them to show the killer so early because early on in the movie, he goes to the shop and the killer looks. I thought they should have never showed him, but if he wasn't the killer, then that wasn't bad writing. If he was, I feel
Right.
like it, you know.
Right. Well, I think that is cool, kind of like Inception with the spinning top or whatever.
Yep.
Like you never know
Yeah.
what you're never going to know what the answer is and stuff like that. But if I were to take everything, all the details to me, I would say yes. But I can also see the other side of it. I watched the video, I'll send it to you, where it goes both ways. It says, I'm gonna show you why he is the killer and why he's not the killer. So it could go both ways. You really never ever gonna know. I thought that's dope, but I don't know. It worked better in Inception for me. In this movie, I kind of wanted to
Right.
know. I'm kind of with Sandy. Like I wanted to know
Yeah,
who
I
was
agree.
the yeah.
Because this was a basic movie. So it's
Yeah.
like, it was like you could have just let me know if he was the killer or not. I really wanted to know. It's cool that it's been a while since I've seen a movie like that, but if I had to choose, I would rather know. It'd have been more of a complete movie for me.
Yeah, and then there's other stuff like the one girl who was missing. They never even found her body and stuff
Right.
like that. There's a lot of like I guess a little holes for me. And then I think there was some useless things like that whole scene where he went to visit his ex-wife. They didn't even need that. Like she had
Yeah,
two
at
words in
all.
the whole movie or whatever like that. So what was that for? I feel like stuff like that didn't need to be done. I did like the relationship though with him and the other detective, him and the young
Mhm.
detective. I thought that was great. And I thought Leto did a great job too. I just felt like it was something like I don't know how to put my finger, but there's something missing for me in this movie. I don't know what it
Right.
is. It could be the ending. They'd have made it a little bit better. I think that might have been it.
Right.
But besides that, it was something missing or whatever. You said Sandy didn't like it at all because of the ending, or she liked it too?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
She thought it was just basic. She didn't like it. She just wasn't that into it, and the ending really killed it for her.
gotcha.
I wonder if the original script was meant to not have who the killer was. That's what I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it probably. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know at all. And again, I think. See, here's the thing. I think in a movie like Seven and stuff like that, if you remember that or
Yep,
whatever, and
yep,
other stuff. I
yeah.
think that the time or whatever. I know it was set in that time, but
Mhm.
2021, we like answers or whatever.
That's
It's a
true.
different,
Right.
different type of
Yeah,
time
I
frame.
could just Google something. Like, come on.
Right, 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 right,
Right,
right. We like answers, and if you're gonna, and the thing is, you can't have both. You can't have a slower movie like this is to me. Like it's a
right,
slower movie. There's not a lot of action, barely any
right,
action at all,
right.
whatever like that. It's a slower movie, a thriller, and then
Like,
don't have a satisfying ending.
right,
You
like
gotta have one or the
it's
other, or whatever.
it's all methodical. You're into it. You get invested in the killer or not the killer, and then you don't know if he's the killer. It's like the only thing that I gratification I got was I found out, oh, the original victim, like when dude was like, oh, well, where was the third victim at? And he paused, and now you realize why it was always he was always pausing on the third victim, and was because he was the one that killed the third victim. So that was the only cool thing that I felt out of it. Like, oh, you found out why people didn't like him, why the lady was like, oh, I'm not doing this again, like back in the day. And you find out her keychain was the bullet that she took out of the girl, whatever. That was gratifying, but that don't take the place of not knowing who the damn killer is. Because now for him, I don't get the satisfaction for him knowing and for the other dude knowing. Like,
Yeah, and a dude died who might not have been a killer for no reason. Just because he,
yeah,
like you said, he might just like murders or whatever. Now
right,
he's dead or whatever like that.
right.
So, like as an audience person, I'm like, man, this is kind of, and even that whole scene, it was like anticlimactic as well. Like he took him out there real slow once again. He's digging these holes. He's talking mad trash to him. Then he like hits him one time with the shovel when he's dead. That was real
And for me,
anticlimactic to me
that was
or whatever.
so unrealistic. So he admits that there's a body somewhere.
Right,
So you take them to jail, right? Or arraign them or whatever, and then have a damn crew go with a crane and dig up the
right.
whole thing or something. Like, what is this? You going out there all by yourself? Like, I don't know. I mean, I get he was so deep in, and he knew like, okay, in 2 days they're gonna have somebody take over the case. But it just, I don't know. It
But
was
why would
good.
he take you out there to this like you said, this dark eerie dirt field to have you dig up a body to say, okay, you found it, now take me in. Like, why
Right.
would he do that? Right? Like he
Even
obviously
earlier, he was like, "Yeah, we got. It's a long ride, but I gotta be back because I gotta go to work in the morning."
yeah,
Like
like
he's saying. So even that, I feel like I don't know. It made no sense. Yeah. Like, why would
it,
you even do that if you really wasn't the killer, or why would you do that if you was the killer? Like, I don't even know.
yeah. And I get, yes, a shovel theoretically could kill you or whatever like that. But
Right.
for a movie, I want a little more. You know what I mean? I feel like it was a one particular shot.
Yeah, he
He's dead.
did.
And they built him up to be such a like if he was the killer or not, but either way he would seem a little menacing. So for that to be the way he goes out, oh, that's kind of weak to me or
Yeah,
whatever like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather see like even them get into an actual fight. He killed them in the fight, and he still could have been the killer, but
Right.
that would have been better than just like, oh, boop, he's dead. Like that,
Right.
that
Yeah.
bothers me a little
Yeah.
bit. So, yeah, so the ending and that movie really messed up the movie and whole. I was into the whole investigation. Don't get me
Right.
wrong, and I love that. But I think you can't have a slow, methodical movie
Right.
and anticlimactic. Like I could watch a movie that's slow and methodical, but like, yo, it
But
took a
that
while for that.
payoff.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, it was great. Or opposite, I could watch a movie like, yo, the ending sucked, but yo, the action throughout the movie was crazy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But you can't have both or
Right.
whatever like
I
that.
agree.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, let's go ahead and rate it or whatever. So, what would you rate the movie?
See, I was into it because the whole detective thing, it was cool. Well, one scene was cool for me was when they was in the first apartment and he looked across to the other apartment building and he went down and went in there and he had the flashlights and they
Mm-hmm.
realized, oh wait, he's across there. That was cool. Like the clever stuff he did where he was figuring out stuff that other people didn't catch on to
Mm-hmm.
was cool, but the lack of no ending, which is cool to talk about. What do we think? Because I like that. It's been a long time, but I like more when you kind of know what happened, but you talk about the details that led up to what happened and you wasn't sure. Like one of my favorite movies I talked about forever was The Ring, because you was like, well, where did the girl come from? What's going to happen now that they're at Blockbuster, making other people watch it, right? But you actually got an ending. So that had to take some points. So I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay. And I'm gonna go with a 6. I did like the acting was great. I'm gonna give you that, definitely. I thought that the investigations, like you said, all the little things, the little things, once again,
Hmm.
that he were finding out and stuff like that. I thought that was dope. I love detective type movies like that,
Right.
obviously, but I think they wasted Jared Leto giving that method acting performance. They could have got more from him. I felt
Yep.
like more scenes and stuff like that throughout the movie, and then like built up a nice little ending. And even the fact that Denzel's character, who was really the one who was going back and forth with him most of the time in the movie, wasn't even there when he died, when he got killed, whatever like that. He
Right.
pulled up later or whatever. So it shouldn't have been a showdown with him and Deacon instead of him
Right.
and the Baxter or whatever like that. I thought that would have been smarter to me and whatnot. Because this came like Denzel just came like, oh, okay, well, I'm taking this out, whatever like that. It was like
Just
weird.
keep digging. I'll
Yeah,
be
just
back
keep digging.
in a few hours.
Right. And it's like, well, does that satisfy Denzel now? Since he was all stuck in the case, that he killed that guy, because y'all still don't know if he did it or not, or whatever
Right.
like that. So it's weird, and the fact that the Denzel character Deacon was the one to try to help Baxter get over it and say like, don't let it hold you down. When you let it hold you down for all these years, or whatever, this other case or whatever, and you still don't got the answer to it, or whatever like that. So that's what's weird. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a solid 6 or whatever on that. So.
All right, well, guys, that was our spoiler discussion of the little things. And make sure you stay tuned for 2 weeks from now. We'll be doing Big Mike Little Ant live. We did the first ever live episode. Make sure you check that out on the channel. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe.
I'm sure we'll be reviewing more movies and stuff like that as they come out. There's so many movies coming out everywhere. And as I said before on our Big Mike and Little Ant show, we're also going to do a review and full discussion for WandaVision when the series does. And we're going to wait and just do all the episodes at one time. They're doing it every week, stuff like that. But for that, I'm Big Mike.
And I'm Little Ant. Out.